Welcome to the 2020 Mosaic Film Festival of Arts and Culture. Whether you're joining us in person, joining us via the internet, or are one of the many filmmakers who submitted this year, I want to express how happy I am that you are taking the time to explore what Mosaic has to offer and what it means to all our participants. I want to especially thank Honourable Rafah DiCostanzo, the member of Legislative Assembly for Clayton Park West, for taking out the time to send us a welcome message. Also, of course, none of these would be possible without the hard work and dedication of everyone involved in bringing the festival to you, including our festival director, Israel Acadie, our director of digital strategy, Aurora Salvador. Also, I'd like to especially thank Darian Cutler, our senior liaison officer, and everybody who has taken out the time to be part of the festival, including the judges. The Mosaic Film Festival was created to showcase voices and perspectives we don't often see or hear in our everyday lives. They offer a greater view of the diversity that makes up our increasingly cosmopolitan society. We have entries from around the world that combine to give us a greater view of the bigger world around us and the neighbors just down the street. The festival is also a reflection of its times, and these are truly unprecedented times. COVID-19 continues to reshape the world around us in ways no one could have predicted less than a year ago. At the same time, the rising anger and the way huge parts of our society are treated by authorities is having the greatest impact since the beginning of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Most of us here in Canada and the United States to the south are aware of the Black Lives Matter movement and efforts to reform how racism and prejudice have become systematic in our institutions. Yet these efforts aren't restricted to North America or even the Western democracies. Right now, in my home country of Nigeria, young men and women are protesting corruption and abuse of power by the police, especially the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, locally known as SARS. This group engages in harassment, kidnapping, extortion, and execution with little or no political oversight. Recently, on October 20th, several unarmed peaceful demonstrators were shot and killed for asking for change. The End SARS movement in Nigeria has succeeded to date by making the internet a key part of its strategy. It organizes, fundraises, raises awareness, counters government misinformation, and even helps feed and protect its protesters online. The pandemic makes it difficult for everyone to participate in the same way we have in the past. So we're going virtual to ensure everyone still has a chance to take part in the festival. We have an incredible lineup of films this year, including Whiteface, My Sister, Bone Cage, and Why We Protest. It is my sincere hope that the 2020 Mosaic Film Festival, even in a small way, helps to bring our many communities closer together. The world is threatened in so many ways today with diseases, violence, misunderstanding, that we need all the love, peace, and change we can muster. If the festival can help to do that through its celebration of arts and culture, then it will have achieved everything I hoped it would when it was created. Thank you again for all attending, and I hope you enjoy your time with us. God bless.
Hello and welcome to the 2020 Mosaic Film Festival of the Arts and Culture. This year it will be virtual as we can't do it in person due to the pandemic, but we are looking forward to seeing the diversity of the movies and the films that produce all over the world. Some from Korea, Bahrain, Canada, Australia. So looking forward to it. Hope you enjoy it, and thank you.
It's pretty personal because it attached to my whole experience of coming to Canada, to Halifax, and then kind of why I decided to stay. And then throughout this whole process, I'm curious of so with many other immigrants that decided to stay, like, did we share similar experience coming to Halifax? And then what about the immigrants that came way before I did, what the experience looks like, and why so many people decided to stay? Because many people are not familiar with Halifax. So whenever I tell them that I decided to make Halifax my home, people always ask like, oh, why Halifax? So I just thought, okay, maybe I want to start doing a short documentary film on exploring what makes Halifax a great community that people decided to stay here.
The Acadians were the first Europeans to come to Nova Scotia, and 150 years later they were deported in 1755 all over the New England states, all the way to Georgia, some to France, some to England, and many later migrated to Louisiana. That's why you have Cajuns in Louisiana today. They're the same culture. And so I wanted to show a film that shows part of the diaspora coming home. So last summer it was the Acadian World Congress in the Maritimes. And so there were Acadians from all over the diaspora, all over the world, who came and visited us. And these people from Belle-ile, it's an incredible place. It's a little island off the Brittany coast in France. And half of the island are of Acadian descent. So for them, it was like coming home.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that my title made a reaction. That's what I was going for. I wanted a title that can grab your attention. It can question, what it is. If you don't know what a banana is, it will make you question the title. And if you do know what it is, then I'm hoping to give you a smile too. So for me, growing up, I grew up in the South. So I am a Southern girl, but I also grew up with my mom's cultures, which she's Chinese Hmong. And then my dad is from Laos, and he, so with my family growing up in the South, I have that Southern culture, I have my mom's cultures, and then I have my dad's cultures. So in my family, there's like a total of like 10 languages. But despite those 10 languages, I grew up speaking only 2, which is English and my native tongue, which is Hmong. So I didn't really relate and feel like I was part of the community growing up. I always felt different. I was either too Asian or too white. And so my mom, she calls me a banana because I'm a yellow on the outside, one on the inside.
It was inspired by a lot of things. I'm from Pakistan, so I think like there are a lot of things in my culture that are taboo and they're not talked about. One of those things is domestic violence and domestic abuse, especially towards women, even for men, because domestic abuse towards men is like it's shamed upon as well, so they can't really talk about it. But the main issue within the culture that I've seen growing up and stuff too is that it's just shut down, and it's very normalized. It's not a big deal. It's like, oh, I've been through it, so you can go through it too. Or like, we didn't say anything about it, so why are you complaining? So there's like a really toxic culture around that. And because of that, I felt like it was one of the topics that I really wanted to speak about. I have a degree in English and I have a minor in women and gender studies. So I think that also played a huge part in the type of films I want to create and the type of topics I'm interested in. When it comes to movies too, that's what I gear towards, things that are different and things that people aren't talking about. So I wrote the poem 3 years ago, and I wanted to really take that and see if I could create it into a film, and give this message out that people can watch and be like, okay, this is something we should talk about. And with the film itself, it's not something that I was like, oh yeah, domestic abuse happens in brown communities, and it's not just about brown communities. I use that to showcase because I am from that community. I wanted to represent that.
The disco apocalypse of the title is more implied. It's not. It's hard. It's kind of a background event to what's happening because there are some musical moments, and I don't know if it's really makes sense until the very end. But the idea is kind of that the disco apocalypse, which is everybody suddenly compelled to dance, is sort of a metaphor for crippling grief. So, but how the movie got made was I was at a wedding with Shelley Thompson, and she turned to me and said, "Hey, when are you going to write me a short film?" So there it was. I think the wedding was in August, and I wrote it in October. I think it was the end of November or the first week of December. I can't actually remember. It was the first shoot where we were all done by supper. And there was no difficulties. Everyone showed up on time. Nobody canceled or had to be replaced. It was basically a dream from beginning to end. Except the day before, I emailed Shelley Thompson, who was the lead, and I said, well, I guess I'll see you tomorrow at 9:00. And she said, "For what? I'm doing something else tomorrow."
Thailand's a country that me and my brother have visited lots in the past, and it's a place we've always had a really amazing time and managed to go off the beaten track and explore a part of Thailand that most people don't usually get to see. So with this film, we really wanted to kind of show that kind of other side of Thailand and create a film that's kind of a bit like a kind of timeless kind of version of life. You know, like you watch the film, there's nothing really in it to really give away when it is just about life, community, friends, family, and kind of culture that a lot of people don't get to see.
Thank you for having me. We're honored to be selected for the film festival. We're looking forward to doing great things and just having a great time with the festival. Yeah, well, here in the South, in South Texas, rodeoing is like one of the traditional sports that's in Houston, Texas. And part of rodeoing is what you call bull riding. And that's actually, I thought it was folks that were crazy enough to get on a bull and see what the draw of the luck happens. As I researched, I noticed it was just mainly Caucasian folks that was doing it until I went to an event and I seen a young man by the name of Neil Holmes. He was maybe the only African-American that was there. And his story just became so compelling to me because I didn't think Black folks did such a dangerous sport. So I said, well, let me go and ask this guy, well, what's this deal? And after I met him and talked with him, he was telling me that it was not just some crazy person getting on a bull just for fun. This was an actual sport where you could have a full career, a successful career, a little bit dangerous, but it was a sport. It was an art, a rare art form that not a lot of Black folks did. And he was one of the few people who did that. And not only did he do it, he did it very well. I mean, well enough to make it to the national rankings in this sport. So from there, I was just drawn to wanting to know more about his story. And as we talked, it just became more and more intriguing. And I said, look, God, we have to tell your story through a documentary.
I did want to have kind of a thriller vibe to it. We were going for a sort of a dystopian vibe. The original vision was, as many movies are, trimmed down and down and down and down until we've got kind of the really razor sharp, he comes home, some shit goes down in the apartment, and things go awry. So yeah, I just really wanted to explore that relationship between us and our kind of home AI devices, because now that they're more prevalent, I feel like it's a relevant time to talk about them. Yeah, Christian Dalton did a great job. He was relatively novice at the biz, and he brought a lot to the character of Paul. We really liked, he had some fun, getting to kind of tease Otto throughout the film. The whole thing kind of builds to a fever pitch where Paul makes these increasing demands of Otto, And as a result, Otto kind of sees what he can do to sort of push back. So when Christian's in his montage sequence there, where he's kind of making the demands at Otto, and it's just, almost ridiculous how contrived and demanding he's being. So we had a lot of fun with that. And then once the tables kind of shift, and Christian kind of enters that fear mode, that was an equally fun part for us to tackle as well too. And I almost wish we've got to do more of that, where Otto is kind of hunting down Paul, but limitations and constraints, we did what we could.
So originally, I wanted to make a stop motion film about 2 minutes. I really wanted it to be kid friendly. And the whole point of the film is actually to make it out of recycled materials. So the toilet paper rolls that are the main protagonists, they're made out of recycled materials. I actually shot it on an iPhone, and the iPhone was recycled as well. I bought it off Kijiji and refurbished it and everything like that.
Wow.
So I needed a camera that I could leave in the office and not use my own phone. So I used an application called Stop Motion. It was like $5.99. And so I really studied how to get the mouth movement, because I originally was like, it's something that I've always wanted to do, is have that mouth movement and to sync it up with, actual voice actors, right? So I kind of went and studied the mouth movements and all of the mouth movements and arrangements that you can have. And I pretty much printed them out, and then I traced them. And so I kind of made it so that I would trace each one so that I had a variety of them.
Oh.
I even recorded my own mouth, and I said the lines, and then I printed them out, and then I would trace them and make them cartoon-like.
Oh,
So,
I see.
and each character is a different color, so I had about, probably 40 different mouths for each character. So in my room, I had in the office space, I had a whole bunch of mouths that I could choose from.
I was driving home on the Friday that the protests started for George Floyd, and I remember going back and forth between all of the news stations, trying to take everything in and not really knowing how to react or how to respond. And I had just been admitted to California Institute of the Arts. And so I was in a big group, like Facebook group message with a lot of admitted students. And so I put a message out there. It was like, hey, we're artists, and I think that we have a responsibility to speak whenever, we need to elevate a certain topic, subject, or other people's voices. And so I think we should, we're all artists. We're musicians, animators, writers, actors. I was like, we have everything that we need to make this, but I don't have the story or the experience. So whoever wants to contribute, who does understand this more than I can, because I cannot understand fully, to contribute. And so we had a lot of people hop on Zooms, and we did it all virtually. So yeah, it was a response video and a collaborative effort.
I've shot a lot of things. I've done a lot of short films, and shooting these projects kind of allows me to go to the film festivals, like the local ones, and watch where they screen. And every time I go, I just think to myself, oh, I would love to try this sometime. I'd like to try the making part of the thing, so that when I go to these film festivals, it's something that, I've created. And working with directors is great. And I thought, why don't I try to work with myself as a director and just kind of take control of a project in that way? So yeah, I wrote and directed this project. It was the first time I've ever done it. Bob Mann was the lead actor in the movie, and he is incredible. And I'm pretty sure when I first thought of the idea, he was the only person I ever had in mind to be the guy in the movie, because he's just the best. And I find his face very expressive, and he's really good at what he does. And given a piece with no dialogue, I just need someone who can really show me what you can do with your eyes, with your expressions.
A friend of mine had liked his work. His dad collected his art, and I was in Toronto, and he invited me come to a studio. What had happened with Jaan? Jaan had been the artist had been retired for 13 years. He basically just left the art world in Toronto, and then what I witnessed and what I filmed was basically his return out of retirement to a pretty significant installation. It's an installation at the TD Bank buildings downtown Toronto. And it turned out to be this just massive installation of four panels that are still there now. And so from there, there was a lots of turns. We did the initial footage of the studio, then I put it aside for a while. We got a little funding, then we didn't get enough interviews, and so it's been a kind of a start and stop process. And I'm just honored. We lost Jaan about a year or so ago, or about 2 years ago now. So I'm honored just to have this film completed, and honored to show people and show people who Jaan is, his art, but also who he is, what he struggled with.
Basically, she was the first transgender person that I ever met in my life, and that was the reason. Like, I was curious, like, who she was, like, how she's been, like, what she's been, like, experienced. Like, by capturing her, like, I would like to see the society through her eyes, through her figure. For a shooting, I think I started the project September 2018 and finished shooting. I think I've shot for a year, almost a year, and editing took me another year or something.
It's a short film adaptation of a stage play that initially was devised here in Edmonton at the Edmonton Fringe Festival. So, it's a two-person play that explores the exact same themes devised by Lady Vanessa Cardona and Todd Houseman. Back in 2018, I saw the play, and the three of us connected and started beginning a development for the idea of translating this into the film medium and being able to explore and reach new audiences with it.
Thank you for choosing my documentary film. It was a very long story for me, because what I wanted was to have a testimony from what we can transmit to our children when we are artists. And especially when you are an artist who had to leave his native country and live in another country. So what does it mean when you lose your first culture? How do you keep your culture in your heart, and how you do transmit it to your children? And for this documentary, I knew this artist, which you can see in the film, and all their children became, sorry about my English,
it's okay,
artists also. And I wanted they tell about how they received what their parents did in their life for them. And it was a nice surprise that I proposed to the parents when I met them. I didn't tell the parents in which way I wanted to make them discover what their children received.
That's a town that I've been visiting since I was 13 every summer. And I love the people there, and I love the attitude they have. And that's what I wanted to capture with the script and the film. And before we shot, we went up there and we let everybody know what we're doing, and we had a lot of support. So in a way, the characters in the film come together for Bob, the main character, but that was reflected in the filmmaking as well. Everybody came together to help.
At this point, Jamie has tried many things to escape his circumstance. Again, don't want to give spoilers, but he's tried multiple things and is at the point where he has to escape at whatever cost it is. And in what he does, the action he does, I don't think he's trying to end things, but I think it's simply the way that in this moment of sort of mental chaos, it's the one way that he feels like he can escape and try to defy something that's in front of him. You know, you're not supposed to go up there the whole movie as the gold, and it's the one moment that's like, no, I'm gonna defy this moment and just try to escape, even by just doing this act, no matter what happens.
One of the characters on this TV show about zombies is a baseball bat wielding, leather jacket wearing warlord. And he's a really, really cool character.
Yeah.
So I've had this idea of a guy who was trying to be like that, who was trying to emulate that. Sort of like a lame version of cosplaying, kind of. And the original idea was that he was going to be threatening snowmen. But winter in Nova Scotia is so unpredictable, we had no idea if we were actually going to get snow. So you were the one who suggested gnomes. That was your idea, not mine. Yeah, so I play the guy who's threatening the gnomes because he's a lunatic. And his wife, who is played by Sam Horak, comes home and surprises him and embarrasses him. And that's the whole movie, basically. I wish there was some deeper meaning, but there's not. It was just a silly little idea that I had and that you encouraged me to go through with it.
Hi, my name is Israel Akanem. I'm the festival director of the Mosaic Film Festival. Thank you so much for joining us this year. 2020 has been a very trying year with the murder of George Floyd and COVID-19. But we've learned to adapt and we are going fully virtual this year. Thank you so much for joining us all the same, whether you're watching at your computer screen with family or you've sent it to your TV and you're watching it with friends in your bubble. We are really grateful. The jury has done a great job selecting over 30 wonderful, impactful films from Whiteface to Bone Cage to Why We Protest, and we hope you enjoy, everyone. You have access to all the films this entire weekend once the opening ceremony is done, and we hope you come back on Sunday, November 22, to join us for our closing ceremony where we will give out awards. However, there's one award that hasn't been decided yet, and you, the audience, you get to pick this award. Every time you watch a film, you get a screen with 5 stars, and then you vote deciding how you want to rate that film. Your votes are what will decide who wins the Audience Choice Award, and that winner will be announced on our website, mosaicfestival.ca. We are so grateful to our partners, and we are so happy you are there watching this year's festival. We'll be back next year, whether it's in person, whether it's virtual. We promise to bring you beautiful, impactful films that celebrate diversity. Thank you so much. Now go enjoy your movies.